it's really cold. AKA when you put that biscuit in the oven, didn't come out and it's crisp. AKA, AKA when you put like put the cookie in the stove, you're gonna get more cookies. I don't know where I was going with that. but nonetheless, guys, welcome to another episode of Switches Sites, my solo gaming podcast, gaming / nerd related culture, pop media culture, what have you, podcast. We're still trying to find finesse and kind of refine or improvise, or I don't know, any adjective or noun that makes sense, basically. But yes, I have a pretty good show for you today. Now, a lot has happened in terms of, man, one of the craziest weeks in just pop culture in general, in terms of just super huge IPs, long going sagas coming to an end that are like decades worth. It's just crazy. It's madness. All this in April. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So yeah, been doing a lot of work on the back end, trying to get this podcast up on your most commonly popular avenues in terms of housekeeping and stuff like that. So keep on the lookout for that underway. By the time these episodes are available, ideally, hopefully, fingers crossed, should be live on all popular podcast sites. So something to ponder about and think of and whatnot. So, but nonetheless, to actually get into the meat and potatoes, if that's a thing, it probably is not, of the show. So, man, first topic of discussion. It's the Sonic. God, I can't even contain myself to even say it fully. The Sonic the Hedgehog live action movie trailer. Oh boy, yeah, it's. I think we all saw this coming in terms of just how horrible and atrocious this is going to be. It's like a train wreck that you just can't, hold yourself to look away. You just have to see the train wreck and see how badly it obliterates everything and everyone, In this case, it's us, the fellow, Sonic fans. I wouldn't say I'm a super hardcore Sonic fan. I'm definitely a fan of the character and things like that. Probably the last Sonic game I legitimately played would probably be Sonic Adventure 2, that I legitimately played pretty extensively. I kind of dabbled with Sonic Mania, but I'm not to the point that I legitimately, say hey, I straight up played this. So, but I do have it. So I mean, for what that is worth. But yeah, at least in terms of the old school days, definitely grew up with Sonic, being the Sega mascot, and has fallen from, the greatness of gaming rivalry that was back in the day between Sega, the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. And kind of sad to think now that Sega is no longer in the console business, but who knows, maybe one day. There was rumors about the Sega Dreamcast 2. Probably not true, but one can dream, right? So but yeah, getting back, oh man, this trailer, man, is just it's the best way to describe it, honestly. Yeah. Initially, when I saw it, I was like, it's okay, but I had my expectations super low to begin with anyway. So I mean, with that, kind of being said, I still wasn't expecting much. Parts were cool, some of the Sonic's signature dash, and things like that. Yeah, he did the dash, got the rings in there. They have some weird voodoo magic now that they can teleport people. I guess that kind of somewhat is. They must be going by the end of the level. Whenever you finish level, then you like go into the huge ring and teleport. That has to be it, cause like, yeah, it's just so many things wrong with this movie. But yeah, I say that the biggest point where they messed up is just Sonic's character design. They just don't know how to make him, if that makes sense. They don't know if maybe we should go full cartoony or realistic, and then they just have this weird blend of both that doesn't really work out. Yeah, just like he got human teeth and human eyes, and who knows, he might have a penis too. They just might have CG'd that out, They surprised us in the theater. Oh, you thought this was PG? I don't think so. No, we going rated R, baby. We going rated R. Sonic about to Sonic about to get that blue chimichanga. But I digress. So, yeah, it just was not. It was not great. Um, some of the positives though, definitely Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik. He's pretty great. He's just you know pretty much. I'm pretty sure what a lot of people are saying that like he's basically Jim Carrey, just being Jim Carrey with the Dr. Robotnik moniker, if you will. So they did give a really cool, I guess, kind of a tidbit at the end that shows him in full, robotic uniform. That's more true and authentic to his video game counterpart. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, definitely he's probably going to be the saving grace or somewhat redeeming quality of the movie if given the boy at least that surface value, the horrible reception this is going to get, because yeah, it's not looking bright for Sonic. They do have a chance because I believe it's coming out in November. If they're really good and smart, they would probably listen to the feedback that everybody was saying. You see, like on Twitter and social media, a lot of people are redesigning his character design to make it look actually what it should look like, instead of going on this weird dynamic, edgy, artistic route, trying to be and completely deviate from what the game character is, and various other forms of media that isn't the video game. So we'll see. But man, it is not looking bright. Not looking bright at all. Definitely not well, actually it is going within the tradition of horrible video game movies. It's definitely picking up that baton. That I guess technically, what was the last somewhat good video game movie? I want to say Lara Croft Tomb Raider was good. I haven't seen it though. I heard fair amount of people liked it. Video game movie. Yeah, it's very hit or miss, but definitely the odds are more on the bad end when it comes to video game adaptations of movie adaptations of video games. Where's the other way? Video game adaptations of movies. You get what I'm saying. You picking up what I'm putting down, nonetheless. Yeah. Then they had the child abduction joke towards the end. That was just weird. It was very weird. It was just, yeah. So all around, horrible, trash. It's gonna be just horrible. It really is. I Any expectations, which was very low, are even lower now. So, best of luck to Sonic. But you could tell they're kind of angling for probably the kid market in terms of the animated Pixar movies. Well, even though this is kind of a mix of both with live action and anime or whatever, we'll see. Anyway, moving on. Next we have the Epic. Man. Okay, so Epic is taking Psyonix, the people who made Rocket League. So they're like, they basically like, you know what? So if not taking exclusive new games coming out on PC um, was enough, taking exclusive or actually taking the rights, not necessarily rights, but I think either timed exclusivity or just permanent exclusivity of upcoming games on PC specifically to the Epic Games Store versus generally how it would release across the masses on Steam and whatever other platforms, but Epic just is not satisfied, So it was like, you know what, we're gonna start taking games you currently have in your software library or store library, if you will. We're just gonna just take it, just take it from you. So yeah, so Epic basically bought Psyonix, which in turn they announced today that they're taking the Rocket League game off the Steam store, and big surprise, exclusively, exclusively, exclusively to the Epic Game Store. So, I don't like this at all. To be honest, I just would like one centralized PC platform to have all my games nicely and neatly organized in. Now I have to keep going all these dang launchers, the launcher game. First world problem, I know, but nonetheless, it's irritating either way. And then, man, Epic is going for the jugular, man. They really are. They really are going for it. And if this isn't any indication, first starting out, them trying to basically undercut indie games and new games coming out with the lower price tag that they have to pay in terms of cuts of sales, versus Steam's pretty reasonably, reasonably high price. I forgot. I think it's like 30%. I want to say. Could be wrong on that, but somewhere around that ballpark. So taking that into account, that leads to some weird, I guess some competitive, antics with Epic, because man, they just. I just see this Epic like CEO with his big suit on with just money all in both his palms, and he's like laughing with a cigar in his mouth. Yeah, just I don't like it, but I think when you kind of think about it, it more than likely is gonna make Steam improve as a store and platform in general, like kind of in the same sense as Xbox versus PS4, the whole console war and things like that. I think it's gonna eventually lead to more competitive pricing and things like that. For sure, that's definitely what I believe and pretty certain about. I'd say, because yeah, Steam has no choice but to, you know, fight back. Like I'm not taking this. I'm not taking this anymore. Epic, you can't do this to me. I'm the king, or some various notorious movie analogy that I cannot think of at the moment. But yeah, I found that very interesting because it seems to be setting even a bigger precedent of how hungry, how hungry Epic is to try and take over that launcher store platform, throne or belt, heavyweight belt or what have you. Because, whoo man, now I thought it was bad. Like some of these exclusives, what is it? I think Metro, the latest Metro game, Metro. I forgot the title of it. Metro. It's not Redux. I think that was just a remake of the originals. Metro Exodus. I think the Division 2. I want to say, even though that's technically you can get that directly through Ubisoft's launcher, which you have to go through anyway. So I guess that's kind of somewhat of not necessarily as big of an issue, but it is there nonetheless. Then there's goodness, what else? It was the one cool game I saw, World War Z. That's exclusive to Epic, PC wise. Um, but yeah, that's just the precedent I'm seeing it, set for the future of what Epic is capable of doing. It just seems like they're just ready to get dirty. They're just ready to get dirty and just take whatever they can to, take the throne. So, yeah, but that is that. Very, very scary things that kind of, entails. But moving on from that, Mortal Kombat 11, man, a lot of things to talk about with this game right now. I'll at least say for the story mode, I did beat it. It was pretty easy in terms of just getting through it. It's fairly reasonably short. You can pretty much get it done in like one sitting. I believe it's like 5 to 6 hours. I want to say it felt like 5 to 6 hours to fully complete. Um, I was a huge fan of the story. The combat, just the action. Just felt like a stereotypical Mortal Kombat movie, which is what I was exactly expecting. In terms of NetherRealm always having a great moniker for their story games and stuff like that. And for the most part, I never felt that like the fights were forced. Like they have a pretty diverse set of characters and not just intentionally just putting like, okay, well, because I have because I have Johnny Cage and Liu Kang, I'm just gonna make them fight for no reason. Or where you kind of get the sense where it's like, okay, this is just forced because they're trying to utilize all the characters in the game and stuff like that. So I felt that gelled pretty well. What else? In terms of the general story, yeah, it was just really great. I just ran and raving about it. It was just, man, it was just great. It really was. It was just wonderful overall. You know, in terms of the general, I guess, uh, actually, I'm beating around the bush, but just one horrible, atrocious aspect of the story is, good God, Ronda Rousey. We need to talk about this. Let's have a sit down right now, because this is just horrible on so many aspects, so many aspects. Just completely atrocious abomination of voice acting I've ever heard in my life. It was just, it was so like uninspired, just lifeless, and just straight boring. And it was just it was to the point where it was like really distracting, where it just, and it seemed like it was recorded somewhere else in particular. So it's like, it was not good. It was not good. Hey, Casey, we're gonna get him. You know, I mean, even I did it better than I wasn't even trying. I did better than her. I felt so. Yeah, it was. Whenever she would speak, it was just hugely, immensely distracting. Um, but everybody else, in terms of voice acting, was very good. It was excellent, excellent. I can't do it in the way the older Mortal Kombat voice actors were, but nonetheless, excellent. You know, so yeah. Then I can't get behind the reasoning to put her on this, because it just was weird. It's just very weird overall. Like, why. I feel like the developers or whoever was in charge of the voice acting like had to have known how horrible it was in terms of just the her performance after everything was recorded. And it's like, probably like, making a storyboard and like putting everything together with the cut scenes, and like it had to have been a moment where somebody was like, you know what, she sucks, she's horrible, this is horrible, like somebody needed to go to Ed Boon and like, all right, Ronda Rousey, this is not working at all. We need to change. We need to change something. Get another voice actor. Get the original voice actor from MK10. And cause yeah, I can't see the reasoning why they chose her of all people, and not even considering the controversy she has with the one incident with the one UFC fighter, MMA fighter that she was fighting that changed her gender, and she had a huge issue with that, and then just caused that whole kerfuffle of events and things like that. But not a good choice. Not a good choice. Not a good choice at all. And it's not even bad voice acting to the point of like it's funny. It's just like bad. it's just bad. It's like it's not even like just laughably bad. It's just like it's bad in like a sad way. But it's like you had to have some inspiration or some motivation. Like you gonna be in Mortal Kombat 11, I don't know. But I digress. I'm sorry. That just was. It was hugely noticeable. Some people's performances were like, okay, all right. It was some tidbits here and there. You could probably find the bright side of things or whatever, but it just every time she spoke, it was just I literally cringed every time she did. It just killed the whole performance for me. So, yeah. So there's that. Also, I mean, I feel like Mortal Kombat 11 is bringing up a lot of controversies in general. So apparently, there's this whole issue with microtransactions in terms of purchasing. Well, more or less the I want to say the towers in terms of the MK towers or challenge towers, where basically you earn currency and money, and they have all various forms of currency like hearts, and I forgot all of them. I didn't really play much of that yet. I messed with the obviously the story mode, the crypt a fair amount, um, and I did the one arcade ending, which I'm going to talk about next. Um, but yeah, it's just apparently from what I'm hearing in the Echoverse, is that just earning currency and things like that just seems to be unreasonably difficult and time consuming, which I am a big proponent against that. Like, just grind and just the grind is not really fun to me. Some games can get away with it. I'd say like Monster Hunter could. I can't. I can't really think of any other game other than Monster Hunter, which kind of somewhat makes sense. Even then, like now with like Monster Hunter World out, it's like not as much and not as painful. So I can't even really say that. Just don't. If you're gonna grind, don't make it. Don't grind so much. Don't make us grind so much to get what we want. But yeah, basically, it seems like just things just cost way too much to get, and earning stuff is way too hard to get. The modifiers that work against your favor are too hard to fight against. And overall, I believe they patched it recently. I haven't tested it out yet in general, but that's at least what I'm hearing in terms of everything. So I think that's worth mentioning nonetheless. But yeah, man, especially for a fighting game, That does not sound good. So, but that's at least most of what I'm going to speak on that. Next, in terms of just the categories of the category in terms of specifically arcade mode. So I hear the commotion and displeasurement of one particular character's ending. So I actually, like, the first time I got the game, I was like, let me see what all the fuss is about. I was avoiding spoilers and people saying blah blah blah, this and that, and I actually got around to beating it. So basically, played the arcade mode, which, mind you, technically isn't canon. So like from Mortal Kombat, even from Mortal Kombat 1 all the way to 11, technically, after you, generally for most fighting games, really, when you get to the end of the game, or beat the final boss in each game's arcade mode, you by general standard get a ending. Now they kind of gotten lazy with it, compared to Tekken, who's kind of set the standard where you get a really nice cutscene of each person's ending and stuff like that. But in the case of Mortal Kombat 11, specifically at least, you get a little cutscene with some dialogue and some, like, I don't know what you even call it, like rotoscoping animated characters. That's probably the best way to describe it. Rotoscoping animated characters. For most cutscenes, I don't know if the artistic style may be different for some. I've only played the one with Jax, but basically, after you beat Jax arcade mode, you get rewarded to a cutscene, which I'm assuming for pretty much everybody's characters is that, in terms of the general story of the game, you get the character or main boss villain, Chronica, who's pretty prominent in the story mode as well. Where basically, the general plot is to kind of control time, or basically revert time to a point where, at least from what I got from the story, is that they wanted to eliminate Raiden to basically put the world back at balance. It weirdly kind of reminds me a lot of Avengers, which we're going to get into in a little bit, but I digress. A lot of time related stuff in media for some strange reason, but I just found that to be a weird coincidence. But nonetheless, so Chronica, that's kind of the general plot for the story, which kind of, in most cases, translates towards each person's arcade ending, I'm assuming, considering I haven't played those, but that's kind of just the plot line there. So basically, Jax, in terms of the ending, Jax defeats Chronica, and technically now has the ability to go back in time. I guess that's kind of maybe the reward for everybody. Every character's ending is to, revert something back in time that matters the most to them, I'm guessing. So at least in this case for Jax, he basically gets the power. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to go back in time and I'm going to end slavery. Just it will never exist. Which I fucking loved. It was great. I'm all for that. So apparently, a lot of people did not like that or appreciate that, which, one, it's not even canon, so why would you even care? And two, is just great. Why would you not want to end slavery if you had the opportunity to? So just those 2 points alone, I feel like invalidated the whole reason for me to even discuss this. But either way, that seems to be the controversy, that, oh no, you shouldn't change time, and that wasn't even, I don't even think that was even the point. Actually, it was the fact that you could change time, and that they tried to do something, at least, Jax wanted to do something positive in that aspect of, reverting a horrible time for, black people in terms of slavery and, being owned by white people. So, I loved the hell out of that ending. And it wasn't even like malicious or, just ill intended. It seemed pretty positive. It was like he wasn't trying to kill slave owners. Like, it reminds me of Chappelle Show, the one skit where he he went back in time, and then he was just like, oh, you got my friends, you got my people, slavery. Let me hit you with the whip. How does that feel? And it wasn't even on any vindictive, intent there either. It was just like, I'm just gonna go back to a point way back to revert any signs of racism. So I thought that was really great. That was very positive, and it really, I think it was very meaningful. But again, it's not technically canon. So in majority of fighting games, in terms of everyone's character endings, with like a few exceptions that are technically canon, but you could see in this scenario it really wasn't canon. So yeah, I don't get. The only reason I could see why people have an issue with it is people that are honestly racist to some extent. Because I can't really see any angle as to why this was controversial or why I'm even discussing this right now. So that is my viewpoint on it. Talking as a black person myself. Yeah, just why? I don't get it. Can we have our fun? Can black people have their fun too? Can we for one time? And this was so positive. It wasn't even any ill intent, as you can, as it showed from his ending in particular. He just wanted to erase it all, not actually eliminate any people or any people that were causing slavery or anything like that. So, I'm washing my hands with it. I am washing my hands with it. Shouldn't even be talking about that, because it was no. It should this should have not been a controversial topic, but of course, for somebody it was. I guess somebody put the word social justice warrior or whatever. That's not even social justice. It's just like making something wrong that's right. If you had the power to change time, and make right, I guess detrimental moment to history, I sure as hell would. I mean, I would do the same thing Jax would if I could. Uh, I okay. Let me back that up. If I had a choice, I would probably do something more beneficial to myself, if I'm gonna be honest, in that respect. But if I had a couple opportunities or I had infinite choices, hell yeah, I would save us, or erase that horrible moment of time for our people in that sense. So that's all I'm gonna say about that, because that's actually starting to get me a little riled up. Just the the whole reasoning as to why this is controversial, because the only reason I can think of is that you would want slavery. So if you would want slavery, then you are racist. Like, there's really no way to kind of slice that in a positive way. You just want racism for us. So no, just no. Okay, no, stop, just stop it. But nonetheless, that is Mortal Kombat 11. Had a great time with the game. Oh man, the fatalities, goodness. I don't see how every year or every new iteration of the series they manage to top themselves, man. It just, each one just gets more graphic and like disturbing. And man, yeah, from all the fair amount of ones I've seen, I haven't even technically seen them all yet. I still gotta lock them in the crypt, or I could technically just look on a like Game Facts or something and kind of get the tidbits there. But goodness, yeah. Though it's gruesome, but I love it though. You want to look away, but at the same time, you just want to look so harder. You want to look that much harder. You do. I think it's ingrained within our primal instincts coming out. I believe. I think that's what that kind of entails. But I digress. But yeah, that is Mortal Kombat 11. Next, gonna talk a little bit about Days Gone. Haven't really played too much of it, to be honest. Probably like about maybe 4 or 5 hours, I want to say. And at least just give my initial impressions of the game so far. So basically, you're this guy, Deacon St. John, who's a biker, really hardcore biker. I'm Deacon St. John. That's not what he sounds like at all. But if I had to, if I was a voice actor to embody that character, that would be my Deacon St. John. I'm just saying. Okay, all right. I'm Deacon St. John. Get her done. All right, that I didn't mean to do that, but you. Okay, I got some work to do with that, but nonetheless. But yeah, basically, at least in terms of the initial like couple minutes of the game, it shows Deacon taking off his wife, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's his wife or soon to be wife, I think. She was like really, she's like severely damaged. I think she got stabbed or something like that. And she basically has to make a decision in terms of, trying to save her, and because she seems to have been on the brink of death to some extent. So basically, he ultimately ends up getting her rescued by this team or helicopter that was saving, I think, survivors. And, this whole, like, endeavor ensues where, like, oh, we don't have any room for people to come on our, our helicopter. Deegan, like, hey, you get, oof, don't you, ooh, oh, don't you dare, you got room for this woman, you better, God damn it, I swear to God, you better put on this damn helicopter, I will cut you. Well, he had a gun, so I'll shoot you dead. But nonetheless, he managed to get his soon-to-be wife or fiance on the helicopter, and then they lifted off. I forgot about his buddy, I believe Boozer, his right-hand man. So that pretty much is where the plot left off, and then basically like it was a time skip. I'm not sure how long the time was. I think like 2 to 3 years, I want to say. Because when I hit the pause menu, it had like a days counter, basically in terms of how far. I think it was like 700 or so days. So that's technically roughly like 2 years, almost like a little over 2 years, I think. 365 days in a year. 365 times 2, 600, 700, and I don't know math like that. But yeah, I think I'm somewhat right in that, guesstimate. But yeah, so that's kind of at least where the general plot kind of starts off. I guess just my initial impressions of the gameplay and everything. It seemed okay. Nothing that like necessarily stood out. I guess it was a kind of a unique, I guess, setting to have like a kind of like, hey, what if we put Sons of Anarchy and mix it with like Walking Dead or any zombie movie. That's kind of the gist of what I got. Considering I never watched Sons of Anarchy, but I assumed it's like a drama about bikers and their trials and endeavors as being a bike club or something like that. That's at least at the surface what I'm guessing it is. But I think it was a cool concept. Well, let me back up. I mean, anything with zombies in it, I'm generally a sucker for. So I'll at least say that definitely kind of had that working in its favor. They got their own zombie term that like I guess every IP wants to do, like just to separate themselves and try to make it seem like this isn't a zombie game. So at least in this case with Days Gone, they're called Freakers. Freakers. I don't know why in my head when I think of the word freaker, according to them, it's just like this zombie that's twerking that got a big booty. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not attracted. Okay. Let's see. I just put myself in a pickle. I'm not. Oh boy, I'm not gonna get out. But okay, you don't get where I'm. All right. You know what? Let's just move past this fact, because yeah. Just call them zombies. That's all I'm saying. You don't got to get all fancy. Oh, they zombies. They walkers. Just call them. They zombies. They've been established for who knows how long. Just call them zombies, because that's what they are. They and they're bees. Okay, they're undead. They used to be people, but now they're undead. They like brains. They won't stop until they eat more brains. Let's just leave it at that. Okay, that's all I'm saying. I'm gonna get off my pedestal real quick. Okay, but yeah, so that's the general plot. It's hard for me to kind of really form a solid opinion from playing for that amount of time, but it seemed pretty cool. It has a really interesting upgrade, I guess, system in terms of upgrading your character. In terms of perks and stuff like that, like when you melee somebody, you get a health or stamina boost, I want to say, and things of that nature. So that seems interesting. Then yeah, like the biggest mechanic is that you have your bike, your motorcycle, where you drive around and you can refill your gas gauge. So you do have to watch that closely, because if you do run out of gas, you kind of SOL and gonna have to walk it on foot and try to find gas. And normally, because there's like my bad, freakers everywhere. You're gonna have to try to navigate your way around them, and they are very, very numerous in number. Is that redundant? That might be, but just to get my point across, there's a lot of them in a mass, so it kind of proves to be more difficult. So normally I've been like consciously, like, every time before I go to another location, I make sure to put some gas in the tank, and make sure I'm not screwed. So so there's that dynamic. There's the dynamic to kind of upgrade your permanent health and stamina. So there's that kind of coming into play. But yeah, overall, it's hard. Like, the shooting feels okay. It's not like, I don't know, it's not as satisfying as maybe I like it to be. But I mean, it's plausible. It's manageable. Um, yeah, it's just overall, I don't know. It's the graphics though. Goodness, yeah, the graphics are great. They're tremendous. Playing on a PS4 Pro, on a 4K TV, with the HDR, just the scenery looks beautiful. In terms of just the whole graphical fidelity, so for sure, can definitely give them that nod. They did a great job in terms of the environment, because you're generally in the forest, and just all of what forestry entails. I'd say it's pretty great. It's definitely very easy on the eyes, for sure. So it definitely has that going for it. So, but yeah, it's hard to really say definitively. Kind of my thoughts about the game, at least in terms of initial impressions. It is pretty great, in terms of just of kind of what I played so far. But I'd have to play it a bit more to kind of somewhat formulate a definitive, solid opinion of the game. Who knows? The game might open up. You might be super duper deacon. That'd be cool. Super duper deacon. I would like that. So moving on from that. Good God. 22 years in the making. No? Okay, I am totally off. 10 years in the making. 22 movies to actually make it. Talking about, of course, man, the blue balls, for a year after Infinity War, Avengers Endgame. Good God, this damn movie. It was everything I personally wanted from Avengers. The ending movie of the series or saga, the Marvel saga. It's very fascinating and impressive, to kind of witness how much Marvel was able to do with this type of format of a movie that like a 22 movie. Like, man, like if somebody came to you, or like some person pitching something to you, like, hey, we're gonna make a 22 movie kind of storyline or kind of saga that's basically gonna be contingent on you watching all 22 of those movies, and then you're gonna get that big immense payoff at the end, which in this case it was Avengers Endgame. So I'm pretty sure I could definitely say I've watched all of the Marvel movies. Probably some I might have waited on for DVD to come out on home video, but other than that, I've watched every Marvel movie, and it's funny because I'm not actually the movie type. Generally, I don't really go to the movies like that, but it seems like just some weird exception I make for Marvel movies. I don't know, some about superhero movies always fascinate me for some reason, but definitely had to go to good God, it's hard to even say Avengers Endgame. It's like we were waiting so long for this, and it finally came, and it was great. Cause man, it would be a whole nother story if this was horrible. But no, I feel like it delivered on all fronts for sure. I'm still kind of compartmentalizing my thoughts on the movie. I've only watched it once. I plan to watch it again at some time. But I was just doing a lot of reflecting on kind of the story, and yeah, they did so many things right. Of course, it was some weirdness here and there, but not any to the point that like was a detriment to the movie, I'd say. But nonetheless, so I actually went on the opening Thursday night. Of course, obviously the movie was packed. Got got awesome. I got the best seats in the world. That's why it pays to reserve tickets specifically for Avengers, because I knew like off rip that it was gonna be packed and you weren't gonna get seats for a long time, whatever, or seats that you wanted. That'd be ideal. And then people like, why you pre-ordering for Avengers, and like, why aren't you pre-ordering for Avengers? That's at least what I'd say. If you are really adamant about watching a movie, or been following the Marvel movies since then. So so saw it, premiered it, man. So many damn emotions, so many points to talk about. Good God. So at least I'm gonna try to hit the high points, just the notable points, not like try to summarize the whole damn movie because that would just take too long. But at least starting out, you start with the movie. Oh yeah. Before we start again, let me say, spoilers. If you have not watched Avengers Endgame, you feel free to click out, or come back when you see the movie, what have you. But spoilers for Avengers Endgame. Starting out with the movie, you see Hawkeye with his kids, and man, like happy family. Oh hey, he gonna put some mayo. You want mayo or ketchup? What about, or no? They said mayo or mustard. You don't got no damn. I think that's what the kid said. I'm paraphrasing like hell right now, but kid said, "You don't got no damn ketchup." That's what I would say. Like, why are you asking me for mustard like on hot dogs? Who put mayo on hot dogs? I sure as hell don't. Okay, I could see at least mustard, just mustard, but like mayo and no. But nonetheless, goodness, cause you don't got no damn ketchup, really. Just those hilarious antics, or cute home, warming family interactions, and then what do you know? Of course, considering the events of Infinity War, man, you just see all of his family just drop one by one. So you see first, I think first it was his daughter just vanished. I'm like, oh God, no! Everybody in the theater like, oh my God, this is not good. And then I think everybody knew it was gonna happen. So pretty much his whole family was gonna be gone. But so first, I think his daughter, I forgot her name, but basically, she's supposedly gonna be the next Hawkeye, which I believe is kind of the what gets taken in the comics as well. So there's that. Then there is the whole factor of, man, all of his other family just vanished, and man, just the and just to see what Hawkeye is like. He don't know what's going on. He doesn't know the events of that we know from Infinity War. So I can only imagine just your whole family just vanished and you don't know what happened to him. You don't see the dust. He didn't even see the dust or what happened to him. They just disappeared. That has got to take a huge toll on you, which inevitably it does. Later in the movie, where eventually he becomes Ronin, which I guess has been a movie counter or comic counterpart that he's eventually like come into at some point, where he's like just this ruthless killer, just killing everybody. That's probably one interesting point of the movie that like I'm kind of like okay. So basically he like he just obliterated all these people in like China or Japan, but he didn't necessarily nobody addressed that. So it was like, all right, well, I'm a cold blooded killer, and then I'm just gonna. They don't even acknowledge him doing that in the whole movie, which was just it was just weird. It's like generally you should address something like that, but I guess technically because the whole half of the universe has been snapped, I guess that is reason to, I guess, justify against it. I don't know. It was a weird plot, I guess, plot point that probably could have been addressed to maybe somewhat flesh something out there. But then again, he has his I think he has his show coming on Disney Plus, which you're gonna see it. You're gonna hear a lot of is at least what I felt like for this movie, Avengers Endgame, with another subtitle, Disney Plus promotion of movies of TV shows, aka Disney Plus TV show promotion. Cause yeah, at least which was weird that they don't really describe. Well, okay, so let me say this: they basically announced all this stuff before Endgame, so that was just the weirdest decision like ever. Like, why would you announce all these new movies of people that were dusted in the first Infinity War? It just kind of detracted from the, I guess, mystery. Like, oh, are they all gonna come back? Are they not gonna come back? But it's like you hear an announcement for Spider-Man. The next Spider-Man movie is coming next year. And I'm like, all right, well, it's apparent that Spider-Man's gonna come back. New Black Panther is getting filmed. Black Panther 2 is getting filmed. Blah blah blah. All right, so it's apparent that okay, Black Panther's coming back for sure. Oh yeah, there's also gonna be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 coming. I'm like, okay, so I guess all the all the all the Guardians are coming back. So it's like, what is the purpose of snapping? Well, obviously, Thanos got what he wanted, but still, just the fact that knowing everybody's gonna come back, kind of takes away from the mystery of like, oh, or who's gonna come back, who's not, and kind of that fun speculation, I'd say. But then they also announced all these TV shows. So I guess before coming into that, like the one I mentioned, Hawkeye. I guess this code name, I don't know if it's definitive, because if it is, that's just not a really great title. WandaVision, which is somehow going to have Scarlet Witch and the Vision, who was killed in Infinity War back. Then you have, man, what else? I can't think of. There was somebody else. Oh, no. Oh, not Captain America, but Falcon and the Winter Soldier are gonna have their own show. They have these placeholder names. I can't remember the one. I think it was just a very generic, like Falcon and Winter Soldier or something like that. I'm pretty sure they're just gonna have a more snazzier, interesting name, but at least that's what they said at the surface. Loki is supposedly gonna have his own show. I think that's it, at least so far at what they announced. But yeah, so like they announced all this before Avengers Endgame, mind you. So that's just a weird I don't know, type of just kind of detract from the main movie in some ways, because it's like, like, because at least when I was watching the movie, I was thinking like, okay, how are they gonna have these people come back? Basically, the people they announced in terms of the movie, so it's like obviously that they are gonna come back to some extent. So, but yeah, so there was that factor of that, and then basically, it's after that scene, that depressing scene. It showed Tony with what's her name, Nebula, that funny little foosball battle. Is it foosball? Finger football? One of those. So they have that, and then basically, after Tony's on the brink of dying or running out of oxygen, what do you know? Captain Marvel comes and saves Tony, presumably after she her events in the Captain Marvel movie, where she joins up and gets the response to that page to the Avengers there. So people were curious about that, but nonetheless, that is what happened. So then there's this whole battle there with Iron Man and Captain America. You weren't there for me, man. You weren't there for me when I was there for you. That's at least the impression I was getting. I know he was saying some other stuff, but you could kind of tell. That's kind of like, hey man, you wasn't there for me. I was there for you. We were supposed to be brothers. Now we're not anymore. How you gonna deal with it? How you gonna do that to me? Or technically the events of Civil War, technically, but I digress. So there was all of that. I'm trying to skip. It's so much in this damn movie. It's 3 hours worth. People were complaining about P time. I'm like, you know what? I can hold the hell out of this. 3 hours, that's fine. That's fine. Take your time, Pastor. Take your time. Take your time, Pastor. But yeah, so goodness, it's so much to process. I'm still trying to process it all. I'm trying to think of very high points, but it's just so many great points, which is, a great point with the movie itself, I'd say. But, for any movie, you kind of have that period where you have that kind of luster or infatuation. I think I like to think of it as an infatuation phase of, anything recently coming out that you like, you're just very infatuated with it and thinking about it constantly and, over analyzing and all that. But with that being said, trying to think. So another big point is that basically Scott Lang of the Ant-Man as the Ant-Man basically was in the quantum realm, at least towards the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp. Then probably the biggest MVP of the movie, even more so than all the actual heroes, should be the Rat. He don't get as much credit as he deserves, because he technically started the whole events to save everybody. If it wasn't for that Rat, none of this would be possible. But basically a rat, random rat, just came on one of the panel of Scott Lang's, I guess, Ant-Man machine that had the quantum realm transporter in it, and basically managed to get that activated and get him released. So now he's in the current world. Oh man, I forgot about that. So basically, the big twist, or not necessarily twist, or major plot point that I don't think a lot of people were expecting, was that the surprise that it's so much I'm skipping over now that I'm thinking about it. So let me rewind from that real quick. Let me put a little bookmark there. So going even back before that. So after all those events, they find out where Thanos is located. So Ronda, well, I don't want to call her Ronda. I do not want to call her that. Brie Larson, aka Captain Marvel. She's like, hey, let's beat his ass right now. I'm ready. I've been ready. So they all go together and find him, and basically they're able to track him down instantly. And man, I felt so bad for Thanos. I never thought I really necessarily would, consider what he did at the events of Infinity War, but man, good God, I felt so bad for the dude because like after everything was said and done, he back in his planet and he minding his business. He like he picking his fruit and about to cook something real good. You can tell he was excited, and then he doing all that, and then it was funny too. But out of nowhere, Captain Marvel just comes and blasts his ass, and get his ass beat by everybody, and he just got his ass jumped in his own place. But that, oh man, it was funny and sad at the same time because he was defenseless kind of, and he wasn't. He kind of had it coming though, consider everything he did still. But it's kind of sad to see see his ass get whooped like that. Boy, he got his ass jumped for real. But yeah, so basically, Thanos got his ass jumped by everybody, and everybody's still living. And basically, he was talking to them some BS like, "I destroyed all the stones. You can't get them. Fuck y'all." And then basically, I'm totally paraphrasing, but basically Thanos, he's about to say something vindictive or evil or menacing or like you can never defeat us or he didn't say that. He said something along the lines of that. That's why I did it because I want everything to be set in stone. And then right before you know it, his ass got interrupted by Thor, cut his head clean off. I did not see that coming. I was like, damn, he got killed basically within the first 20 minutes of the movie. So I was like, okay, wow, they go in there, man. He get his ass jumped, then get his ass decapitated. So I'm like, all right, this is the tone. Okay, I appreciate it. I accept it. So after that, picking up that bookmark I left earlier. So, yeah. So in terms of the time jump mechanics, so Scott Lang is, or no, before that there was the time skip. So there was a major time skip after that, where basically like, well, we're kind of screwed. We can't bring them back because we don't have the stones, and Thanos destroyed the stones. So there's a huge time skip, and then it just gives you this 5 years later. I'm like, oh my god, well, they had to live with this for 5 years. That's crazy. So yeah, so there's a 5 year time skip where they basically have to live with all of the people they lost with the snap or after the snap. So there is that. So then after that, then the rat comes and saves Scott Lang by jumping on the machine and hitting some unintentional switch that he wasn't aware of or whatever. So Scott Lang comes out the time jump, and now it's been 5. Yeah, it's been 5. It's only been 5 hours for him, but it's been obviously 5 years since everything has went down. So he's not aware of that for a fair amount. Few minutes of the movie, and then he kind of catches up to speed with finding his daughter, who's like, I think she's 17-ish, because I believe she was like 12 in the events of Ant-Man and the Wasp. So he's kind of just processing that. That's kind of crazy when you think about it, just to see your little daughter just instantly grow up like 5 years older, and he's just confused as hell. But basically that eventually leads him to go to the Avengers headquarters and kind of tell them, what he experienced, and like, there's a way we can go back in time and save everybody and undo everything that's been done, which just brings this whole time dynamic and stuff like that. But yeah, there's just that plot point. That's, I guess, technically a major plot point. So I'm gonna kind of skip from there to trying to skip some of the small details. I'm trying to point out the notable stuff. A little after that, not even a little, but a while after that, we come across Hulk, who's actually synergized with his angry Hulkish self. So he's kind of like Bruce Banner, and the Hulk actually came to a mutual agreement and like, all right, let's have the best of both worlds technically. So he's visually the Hulk, but he has the intelligence still of Bruce Banner basically. So he's just basically a hybrid of both. So it's some funny antics that kind of come in there where he's talking to the kids and stuff like that. And then what else? He's talking to the kids these fans, and then it's kind of the dynamic with Ant-Man. How he's obviously not really the most popular Avenger. I think it's pretty safe to say, probably outside next to Hawkeye technically, but he wasn't in that scene. So basically, there's these funny dynamics where it's like, hey, y'all don't want y'all don't want Ant-Man's signature though. You don't want mine. I mean, you got Hulk's, but you don't want mine. And then it's just this awkwardness of we don't really want your signature. We just wanted Hulk's, but if we're forced to, I guess we'll take it. And I can't do that scene justice, so I'm just get past that. But that was very funny. Then I think after that we meet up with Thor, who's Thor has been through some hard times. You could tell he was like kind of depressed after defeating Thanos and killing him, and I guess technically cutting off, at least from what we know, all possibility to kind of bring everybody back. So he's kind of like living with those demons because he kind of formed a gut, he kind of got a little thick. So there's that whole kind of dynamic there as well. So it's kind of funny where you do see the two characters. I cannot remember their names, but I'm gonna call them the blue guy and the little bug from Thor Ragnarok, the funny comic relief from that movie. I guess they're his buddies or roommates, and they're chilling playing Fortnite, which is kind of funny because Fortnite has a cross promotion as well, where you can play Thanos, and I think you can use some of the Avengers weapons, like Iron Man's blasters, Captain America's shield, so on and so forth there, which I definitely am going to I'm going to do before that's done, just to at least try that out, because that seems like a good time. But nonetheless, so there's that whole dynamic. Thor was funny as hell in this movie. I think some people didn't really like it, but I totally love Thor. I think because he's this hulking, muscular man, and all the previous movies. Now in this one, he's a little thick, got the beer belly on deck. But I liked him. He was. I think it's people that just have this disparity between like serious Hulk and like comedic, not serious Thor and comedic Thor. I think I like comedic Thor more. At least that's just my general kind of preference in terms of comedy over seriousness in that respect. But nonetheless, I totally loved him in this movie. I think he had a lot of funny moments as well. But man, so he was a really good highlight. Any other stuff after that? Basically, they ultimately managed to get time travel working, and they eventually go to the events of a couple of the movies. So like the first Avengers and Thor as well, which was really cool. So it was really interesting to kind of see a different perspective of all those movies and kind of, overall, yeah, just get a different angle, which I thought was cool and fascinating, and kind of, improve some movies, like in particular Thor: The Dark World, which is at least revered as one of the worser Marvel movies, which I thought was pretty cool, where they kind of shed some light on a couple of the actors, and fucking Natalie Portman for like 2-3 seconds. Seemed like, yeah, they probably just used some scenes or unused scenes that she had or something like that. I find it hard to believe they managed to get her to actually come on set for like 3 seconds for like 10 seconds of movie just to get up and do something that does not make sense. So I think they had some unused scenes or something like that. But nonetheless, I really liked the whole Avengers aspect where they visited the first battle of the Avengers, and Smart Hulk is like not as angry anymore, so he's like forced to kind of be angry or forcibly make himself angry, like I'm Hulk and I'm angry, and that was pretty funny. But after that, it was so many good points. I think after that, probably the only thing that comes to mind is the whole Ant-Man aspect, where Ant-Man is with Tony as himself to try and get get the Tesseract, I believe, and then he basically Ant-Man makes fucking Tony get a heart attack by just detaching one of the components on his artificial core or power core. So I thought that was pretty man, that was pretty interesting in that respect. And then while that was happening, you had Steve Rogers or Captain America fighting himself, which was really cool, kind of like comic book satire type deal, where there's a lot of one-liners and jokes there. That's America's ass. I'm not gonna even give any context to that, but man, yeah, that was funny. Like, I could do this all day. Yeah, I know I say that, and just all that, kind of hilarity ensues there. Ultimately, he ends up getting it, and well, no, actually, they don't. They fail, and Loki actually ends up getting it for inevitably the next um whatever spin-off movie he's gonna do, where it's technically an alternate universe, because that's technically the theory or kind of groundwork for how time travel works, even though I think just time travel is always difficult to explain in anything, because it's like they break, at least specifically with Avengers Endgame, they break the rules of what they set as rules. So then that kind of makes you think like, okay, so I guess if you broke the rules you already set in place, then what are rules then? So anything is technically breakable, or anything is feasible, really, when you think about it. But that's just the whole, I guess, box of worms, or Pandora's box of time travel, which is, I think, in general hard to always explain in movies, specifically at least in this one. They kind of made it clear cut, but at the same time, in some scenarios, they always basically went back on that. So it's like you don't know what actually is. Yeah, it just you'll just end up confusing yourself in terms of rules they laid down, and then they just straight up broke in some cases, or made exceptions, quotation, on for whatever is convenient to them in terms of the plot. But nonetheless, that's just a whole other, I guess, tangent, if you will. But so basically, they failed and did that. So then they ended up traveling even further back to try to get the same stone, I want to say, and also get more time juice, which that yeah, I'll call it time juice because I forgot the political or actual term for it. But basically, that causes a whole, like, confusing explanation of how that works. So it's like, if you go back in time and get more time juice, but why did you do that in the first place to get more time juice if you knew that? Yeah, it just, the more you think about it, the more you get confused. But you just gotta write it up as, okay, it's time travel. Leave it alone, time travel. But I thought it was pretty cool. Going back in time, Tony got a chance to speak with his dad before he had him, or they were technically somewhat expecting Tony soon, which was really interesting, because I think everybody would be fascinated to kind of have that conversation with their dad after when they're about to have them, but not actually acknowledge that, and come off as a unintentional, not necessarily unintentional, actually no, unintentional person that is aware of that. And then you also had Steve actually talking to Agent Carter in terms of those events. So, well, actually no, he didn't actually talk to her. He saw her at a glance, but he really did want to talk to her. But so that was cool. Skipping ahead, trying to think of something else. Highlights. I guess Black Widow dying technically. So they end up going to get the Soul Stone, and we all know, at least from the previous movie, what you have to do to get the Soul Stone. They kind of made it seem like that you could just get it from whoever was there at the time or something like that, but I guess this is being Endgame, it wouldn't be that simple. So Basically they find out one of them have to kill themselves because they don't want to just straight up kill each other. For a second I thought that, I thought maybe kind of to play off um Clint's or Ronan's character, how he turned a new leaf now in terms of being evil and stuff, that he might like, all right, well, obviously you got to go Black Widow, or he just, for his own selfish intent, he would just kill her and then just go off about his business or something like that. But that didn't that didn't come to be, because I guess, after killing countless people, apparently, you can just all of a sudden the right person comes along and then you're just like, you know what, I don't need to kill people anymore. So that's I guess apparently what happened. So there's that. But yeah, so it was kind of this whole like battle of them like, oh no, I'm gonna kill myself, no, I'm gonna kill myself, no, I'm killing myself, and then eventually uh man, Black Widow wins the suicidal battle. That's kind of dark when you think about it, the suicidal battle, because it's weird when you think about it. They're literally just trying to kill themselves, uh technically for the greater good, but still. But then it's then that brings back that whole weird time jump thing where it's like, if she kills because she killed herself for the stone, and technically Steve Rogers returned the stone, to some extent technically maybe she could be revived at some point. So maybe that could be a plot line they might try to leave kind of vague, so they could, even though it's confirmed that, like, I guess somewhat, that actually no, they technically didn't confirm it, that Black Widow movie is a prequel, but at least obviously from the events of this movie it would technically have to be a prequel unless they find some way to make it a sequel of after events, which would entail something of getting her back from Vormir, and somehow doing some trickery with the Soul Stone or something like that. But yeah, that was just a weird point. So then technically after that, kind of skipping ahead of that, basically what's his name, Thor, eventually finds a way through Nebula and some weirdness of Wi-Fi brains connecting with each other to get information about how everybody is coming to the past to try to get the stones to prevent the future and all that. And long story short, he eventually finds his way through Nebula to get back into the current time. Well, Thanos' past self to get into the Avengers' current time to basically ensure or take out the Avengers and like totally not be along the same, I guess, goal he was in Infinity War. He's like, you know what? I don't give a damn anymore about trying to cut off half of the, population. I just want to kill all the Avengers, basically. That's kind of at least what the impression he gave. So there's that whole battle, and good God, the biggest, probably the biggest highlight point of the whole movie, I would say for sure, is fucking Steve Rogers finally being worthy and getting the Thor's or Mjolnir hammer. And oh man, I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't expecting it, because at least previously I wasn't aware of that story arc, that he was able to do that, to actually attain the Mjolnir hammer from Thor. But I guess they technically hinted at that in Avengers Age of Ultron too. But man, I fucking geeked. I lost my shit. I ain't gonna lie, I lost my shit when he did that. He's like, oh my god, he's worthy. Oh my god, he able to do it. And yeah, so that was great. That was great. That was like, that was the equivalent of when you accidentally have a wet dream, and like, oh, that was the equivalent of that. That was just greatness right there. That was pure, unadulterated greatness. It was. And man, he was freaking throwing a shield and bouncing it off the Mjolnir, and then banging Thanos in the back of the head. Oh man, just the choreography and just everything that went into that was just great in all levels. That was definitely the biggest highlight of the movie for sure. Man, that was great. And then you had the funny dynamic where Thor and Steve had mix up like, hey, no, you can have Mjolnir, but no, I want Stormbreaker. You can't take that too. Come on now. He's like, my bad, man. Here, all right, I'll stick with the Mjolnir. Okay, so, oh man, that was great. So you did have that. You had the battle against Thanos and Tony, Captain America, and Thor. And, oh man, I forgot Thor. Thor fucking when he transformed into his his uniform. He had the belly out, had room for the belly, as well as just instantly braiding his beard, which was just at first I was like I was too enamored by how great that was, but the more I thought about it, I was like, what? Did he just braid his beard out of nowhere? I guess that's the powers of being a god. You can do that apparently. That'd be convenient though when you think about it. You need to get your hair braided on the regular. You're just like, you know what, I'm good. Just you just think about it, or I don't even know the term. Just transform and then instantly, boom, your hair is just automatically braided conveniently. But man, that was great. The whole battle was awesome. Thor was holding, well, not Thor, but Thanos. Surprisingly, for somebody that didn't even have the Infinity Stones at all, he was holding his damn own with the blade and everything. Then it came to a point where I was waiting for it. That it was highly rumored that Captain America, Thor, or Tony was going to die, and it felt pretty apparent that Thanos got his whole team together, his old army rallied, and it was just Steve Rogers right there by himself. He said it one last time. At least what I thought, it was like, I could do this all day. I'm like, oh no, oh god. The tears was about to come out right there, but I was like, crap. Is that this how they gonna kill him? And whew, probably one of the biggest feel good superhero movie moments of all. Out of nowhere, he's like, I forgot what's his name, Steve Wilson, aka Falcon, said out of radio communication, check your left. Yeah, I think he said check your left or something along those lines, but on your left. And then, bam, out of nowhere, Doctor Strange with the teleportation circles. I don't even know what you call it. Teleported all of the snapped people, which I forgot to mention that Hulk basically snapped everybody back. Because it apparently or coincidentally, whichever, takes a lot of gamma rays that basically, at least out of everybody, only Hulk could technically withstand. So he did that at the sacrifice of his arm. He got pretty banged up. So technically, this was before everything, but then so then they all came and rallied. Oh man, this was probably the next best scene too. That you get all the Avengers rallying together, everybody's fighting together against the evil. Everybody's together. Everybody's here. Smash Brothers. So you had everybody together fighting. You get freaking Rescue, which is I guess the comic book equivalent of Iron Man. Where she was fighting alongside with Tony Stark, so they had the cool back-to-back action. I don't know what it is about back-to-back stuff that just is so just enthralling. That's like, oh my god, that's so awesome. They just shoot back-to-back. I guess it's the weird dynamic that everybody's conscious, that you're conscious of somebody behind you, and that you're like in unison, at least with every movie that involves some back-to-back action. Oh man, that sounds very porno-like. But we're gonna move away from that. Getting my mind out the gutter there. But yeah, so you had all that. You had freaking Ant-Man again growing to huge size, growing a giant man, and like stomping people out. Man, it's so much action that I have to watch it again to kind of get another visual and everything. But basically, everything rallied together, and ultimately it came down to a moment where Captain Marvel came back, and then she she had a very fun showdown with Thanos. she grabbed Thanos and they were fighting, and it came to like kind of a struggle battle. Thanos like, let me play dirty, let me headbutt you, bitch, because you a woman and you weak sauce. And then Captain Marvel was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. That didn't hurt. She was unfazed by the headbutt, so he had to resort to using the Power Stone, because basically Captain Marvel had the stones, and I think their intention was to get back in time and try to put everything back, but they didn't manage to do that because Thanos destroyed the machine or whatever to get back in time. So it was kind of a struggle of keeping the gauntlet away from Thanos before he tried to do everything again, in terms of snapping everybody. At least in this case, I think specifically the all of the Avengers. Excuse me. But then after that, yeah, so that whole battle ensued. It was just like a fumble in war, and then it eventually came down to Tony and Thanos struggling, about to get the gauntlet. So it looked like Thanos got the gauntlet, but then little did he know, Tony pulled the old switcherooski and got all of the stones attained on him. And then he did the final snap. I am Iron Man, and then snapped, and then decimated everybody. Well, not everybody. All the evil, or basically all of Thanos and his army. Thanos had to look at the feet like, man, damn it, you got me. He just accepted it. It was like, ain't nothing I can do now. And then they just fittingly dissipated in the dust as he did everybody in Infinity War. So that was kind of the, I guess, what's the word for it? Kind of like the pop off, or just relief of ending Thanos for the foreseen future there. And then, now we had to deal with the aftermath of Tony Stark. He doesn't look so, not to use the joke. Oh, wow, that's too soon. It's too soon. Tony Stark is like, I can't even say it. But basically Tony Stark was not feeling too good. So basically his whole like left side was just charred, similar to the Hulk and Thanos, I think, after they tried to snap everything undone. And now he's basically just he couldn't even speak. It was hard to see. I cried. I let the tears out. Some snot came out, and I ain't gonna lie. It was I was trying to when you're crying and you're trying to contain it because you're in front of people. That was basically me in the theater. You could tell everybody else was crying. I think everybody else was kind of that same level. Dude on the left of me at the theater, he like saw me. He's like, is he crying? Is he crying too? Try to validate, like, it's okay for me to cry right now as a guy. But yeah, no, I lost it because considering how much Tony has contributed to like the whole Marvel universe, and like he started technically the first movie to really kickstart this whole decade saga of movies. It was sad. It was sad. Kind of see, well, one, that this kind of how selfless someone who's technically selfish, I think, as a character in general, was. Because I think even in the comics and stuff like that, I think Tony Stark is a character you shouldn't like, but they somehow got you to like, because he technically just has all the characteristics of somebody you shouldn't like as a specifically a superhero there. So it was sad. Then you had Pepper, and Peter, like that was getting to me more and more. And then Pepper said something along the lines like, yeah, it's okay, you can rest now or whatever. Like, oh god, don't do it, don't do this to me. Yeah, then the waterworks came. They did. I let it out. So that was sad. And then one tidbit I forgot to mention was that like just like a corny like when people announce the title of a movie in the movie type deal, like where Captain or Mr. I don't know why I want to say Mr. Strange, Doctor Strange said we're in the end game now. And that was a total moment where you just want to look in the camera and just say, we're in the end game now. We're basically, obviously, in Infinity War, we mentioned, out of the 15,000, some 100 million choices, there's only one that we come out of. And before it was that moment, Tony saw Doctor Strange. He's like, he saw him put up the finger. This is that one moment. And, he was like, well, this is what I must do. Because obviously, if you told him that in advance, he would probably try everything in his power not to make this happen or whatever event happen. And, ultimately would lead to probably one of the other 15,000 million choices or whatever there. So, yeah. But, man, that was sad. Then after that, you get the funeral with Tony that let more tears out. You get his emblem from Iron Man 1. I forgot what the definitive phrase was, but proof that you have a heart or something like that. And man, that got me too. And then just seeing everybody there, that hurt a lot. That hurt a lot. It really did. I let it out. Yeah, they came back after that. So, but yeah, so you had pretty much everybody there showing their respects to the man, Tony Stark. And then after that, technically you had Captain America, basically doing what was undone to return all the stones, because technically that would alter the timeline if he didn't return them. So he managed to, I guess, return the hammer and all the stones back to where they were. And, they said, oh, this is going to take 5 seconds. And then it didn't take 5 seconds. Then later you see somebody sitting on a bench. They go to the bench and they see it's Steve Rogers, who is an old man now. So pretty easy to deduce that he stayed. He went back in time and stayed in that timeline to live his life out with Peggy Carter, and do a lot of old people sex stuff that they do. That. Then there was that whole weird thing where I think he kissed his niece or something like that, but I guess we're not gonna acknowledge that at all. Well, that would be awkward anyway. Like, how can Steve just say that? Like, you know what? Just to let you know, I'm gonna kiss your. Well, okay. So I guess that kind of. Now it's going back to the whole time travel thing. I guess I'm gonna leave that alone. But nonetheless, basically, he it's pretty apparent that he just stayed in that time and came back to this exact location at this time or whatever that he left. But yeah, it kind of hurt to see old Steve Rogers, because it was kind of like a nail in the coffin that, like, I was like, all right, he's pretty much done, like he kind of said. So but it's a possibility, or a kind of a device to kind of bring it back if he ever wanted to, I think. Or kind of like what I've been researching on, like the old man Captain America kind of plot, if he ever were to want to come back and stuff like that. So there's a lot of options there. And then basically he did give the mantle of Captain America definitively to Captain Falcon. So Captain Falcon technically will be the Captain America if in whatever, or at least in this case presumably Captain America and Falcon and the Winter Soldier spin-off TV show on Disney Plus. It's funny. What would make it even funnier if they just put like those little TV bugs that, like, like after they Captain America gave Steve Wilson the shield, you can see more of Steve Wilson on Disney Plus right after that. It just, to me, I just had that constantly in my head, like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's what the events for that TV show are gonna be. So yeah, and that basically was it for the Avengers. Definitely skipping a lot of stuff, but kind of at least what stood out to me and things like that. Man, oh yeah, I forgot. Thor is teamed up with the Guardians of the Galaxy, so that might set up Thor to be with the Guardians of the Galaxy in the Volume 3. and it seems like the plot might be to get 2018 Gamora back, because basically, which is yet another rule they broke about time travel. They managed to get Gamora 2014 Gamora back in their current time. So that's so confusing. But basically, I guess they're trying to find a way to bring 2018 Gamora back. That at least what's kind of implied to be somewhat of a plot point in Volume 3. So we'll see for that. But good God, man, this movie, what it managed to accomplish, as well as, touching on every character, because, they split up in groups in terms of doing the time jumps and stuff like that. It was very great to see. And, I think it's a great achievement what they did. Big shouts out to the Russo brothers in terms of the direction. Definitely took, I would assume it took two people to direct a movie of this, stature. In terms of that, but man, job well done for sure. I think it was everything. Yeah, it was everything I pretty much wanted and wasn't expecting, which I think is, I think they did a good job of trying to diverge and hide some big spoilers, with the trailers and stuff like that. Man, I had every Twitter muted word on deck to avoid any spoilers because I did not want this spoiled for me by any means. So I'm glad I was able to see it unspoiled and had a great time. And yeah, man, it was just a great conclusion to this whole Marvel saga. So like if they were never to, announce they were never to make another Marvel movie again after this, I would be pretty okay with that, to be honest. It's like I'd feel pretty fulfilled considering everything that, transpired with this whole 22 movie saga. But it's at least apparent that they have a lot of plans to not do that and continue to Marvel storylines and stuff like that. I'm curious if they're next gonna try doing Galactus or something like that, or probably maybe Doctor Doom. Now that Disney taking everybody. Now Disney has Marvel and Fox, so they have access to those movie rights. So that's going to be interesting to see, and probably maybe reboot X-Men to some extent, maybe. And Deadpool. Oh my God, so much to look forward to. I'd still want to see it first, to see all the plans they have, but at least they built a really great template in terms of what to do going forward with the I guess Marvel IPs in general. And yeah. So man, it was a lot of stuff I definitely wanted to cover, but man, it was so much details with Avengers Endgame. But man, at least going by my infatuation phase right now, thoroughly, definitely enjoyed every second of that movie. It was great. It was great. Of course, there was some downsides, like the Ronin scene. I think wasn't really that great. It was okay, but it wasn't up to par with other stuff. That's the only thing I can really think of. That just like was blatantly not great. Yeah, it was pretty much that. Everything else was good, so that's definitely just a testament to how great Endgame was. Yeah, having that year cliffhanger. Technically, it wasn't a cliffhanger. It depends on who you ask, but yeah. At least we got the payoff. So, God, cannot say enough about Avengers Endgame. Definitely, as of right now, it feels like my favorite Marvel movie ever. I haven't watched any of the previous movies in a while, to be honest, like Civil War and Captain America Winter Soldier, but that's looking to be my top favorite one. Yeah. So, but yeah, okay. Enough Avengers Endgame talk. Yet another blockbuster, tremendous event that's taken 8 years to finally come to the fruition of. A little bit of backstory about Game of Thrones. I didn't watch it initially when it came out. I guess it just never tickled my fancy, but eventually at some point I was like, okay, let me check this out, and then I got fucking hooked. This was like back in 2015 ish, I want to say. So caught up pretty quick. Man, just felt all the hurt, all the trials and tribulations and stuff like that, and yeah, yeah. So yeah, so now we're in the last or final quotation the season, before the like prequels and other stuff of that nature is going to come into play. But yeah, so this is the big episode that's going to have that's basically the battle that we've all been waiting 8 years for, at least in my my end, not that long. But yeah, finally seeing the technically and again, spoilers for Game of Thrones episode 3, season 8 episode 3. Just we getting real spoilery in this episode. But yeah, so with Game of Thrones episode 3, man, I was not ready. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Goodness, I ain't gonna lie, I cried. Like nobody wasn't even nobody wasn't even dying yet. I just started crying because I was like, it just how everything was starting to turn out. It was like, it's not looking good. Like you could tell, like the battle wasn't really looking good. It just people were just going left to right. Everybody was getting sacrificed and just getting mauled, and I was like, oh no, I know they just gonna take away all my characters, and then I was just crying. I was like crying as a buffer, to be honest. But it was kind of sad to see everybody, just numerous amounts of people, just getting killed by the White Walkers. It was sad, and that eventually, yeah, that got to me. And then yeah, just seeing everybody fight so heroically. It's just something about just taking a stand with confidence and poise and going out that like kind of gets to me sometimes. That like you're just going out on your terms, like you're taking control of your outcome to an extent where it's like, I'm not gonna let these White Walkers take me willingly with the fear. I'm gonna take them with courage and just know I died trying with courage and the strength, and trying to fight them off as much as I can. So with that, yeah, I lost. I was crying like a good amount of the episode. I'm not even gonna lie. Yeah, the waterworks came out because man, yeah, just seeing them all fight so courageously and knowing kind of like the possible outcome, considering like the story, is kind of yeah what got to me. So yeah, boy, yeah, it was it was an emotional week for sure this week, damn it. But yeah, man, it was pretty great to see though. You can see kind of you had the glimmer of hope when the witch like enlightened all the Rocky's swords and stuff. Like, oh okay, all right, we got a chance. And then after that, man, just the whole race just got apparently obliterated. So man, that was sad. So then, they came in full force, and the battle ensued. Everybody was getting killed, decapitated, mutilated. It was crazy. And then, eventually it came to a couple of plot points where, the dragons came into play. They were trying to they finally got a sighting on the White Walker King, or the Night King, I believe. And, it was a whole battle that ensued there. They had some planned, I guess, mask the environment by using this immense amount of fog or ice or mist or whatever, and that caused issues with everybody's plans to like have the dragons incorporated, which they couldn't see and stuff like that. It was like, oh boy, this is not looking good. In general, just the whole battle was not looking bright for Winterfell in general. So man, I couldn't. It was too much. It was too much. Commits to this too much gift. But man, it was a lot to take in. It was a lot, man. It was a lot. Goodness. But man, it was just a lot of battling. A lot of people lost their lives. One of the notable ones, I forgot the little girl. I think she's the queen of one of the man, I forgot her name, but I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. She was so tough little girl, and man, she like took down a giant White Walker herself. She got crushed in the process, but man, she went fighting like a soldier. She went fighting like a damn soldier. And yeah, I was sad to see her go. That was probably the saddest. I wouldn't say the saddest. The other one was Theon. He was pretty. It was sad because I think he knew what was gonna happen. That he knew it was his time, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna still go. And what kind of got to me too was like, when Bran was telling Theon, he was like, "You're a good man, Theon. You're good." And I think he just I think that just kind of validated, him trying to redeem himself, knowing what was gonna happen to him, getting killed by the Night King. It was just so heroic. I don't know, it's just something about when you know you're gonna die, but you're just gonna go out on your terms that just always gets to me. I can't explain it, but yeah, that got to me a bit. But there was of course some other losses. I forgot to do with the patch on his eye that could revive himself technically. I know this was technically his last life per se. And he went out. I felt kind of sad about him. He was a cool character, and then of course, John's brother died trying to defend. I can't remember his name. The big guy that was the librarian, whatever. This is a totally black guy. It's totally a black guy explaining stuff like, "Oh yeah, it's the one dude with the one guy with the." But I'm not good with names. I'll at least say that. At least unless they're super duper memorable. At least that's I tend to get forgetful of names, as you can obviously tell in most cases there. But yeah, so a lot of fair amount of losses there. None that were too well. I guess the one guy that here I go again, protecting that swore his life to Daenerys. He went out pretty heroically. He's like, I'm gonna die saving, I'm gonna die protecting her. I don't care. And so he's out. And then, but at least kind of to skip forward towards the end. So ultimately, Arya. Oh yeah, she was, man. If there was an MVP of this episode, it definitely was Arya Stark for sure. She was fighting off the White Walkers like it was nothing. Then ultimately she has the final say in terms of the person that actually killed the Night King herself. She just nobody I know at least what they intended writing wise was to lose track of her, which I totally did. I was focusing on everybody else, and then it had that moment towards the end where it's like, okay, everybody's just gonna die in unison. Basically, it seems like they were playing the sad music. I'm like, oh no, I'm not ready. And then out of nowhere, freaking when the Night Walker was about to take out Bran, Arya just came out the woodwork, just out the shadows, and she's like, "Oh, you ain't gonna do that to my brother." And then yeah, she didn't say that, but and you're like, "What you say?" Night King was like, "What you say, bitch?" And this check freaking choke her on the neck, by the neck, and then he was like, Arya was like, "You see this knife?" He's like, what? Is it dropping? And then she's like, psych. She just stab his ass. And then ultimately it kills the Night King as well as kills all of his related minions. Which is, I kind of saw that kind of how it was going to play out. Not specifically Arya killing Night Walker, Night King, but at least how they set it up in the previous episode was that somebody would have to kill the night, like basically if they kill the Night Walker first, they'd be able to kill everybody in one fell swoop technically. So basically, as long as you kill the Night Walker or Night King, everybody else will die in his place. So I thought it was gonna kind of somewhat play out like that, where basically everybody else is fighting them off, and then eventually somebody kills the Night King, and then the world is a better place or whatever. Or I was thinking it was gonna just go to other absolute extreme alternate route where pretty much everybody is just was gonna get obliterated, including the main characters like Jon, Dany, and stuff like that. And it was probably just gonna be some minimal characters like maybe Tyrion and Sansa or something like that, where they will probably just be some dynamics where they just have to accept what like Cersei would be the queen by default. out, not actually fighting them, but letting the White Walkers do their work, even though technically that would just mean their untimely death as well eventually anyway. But if that was to happen, but that's at least where my mind was running off. That like, man, it could go either way. The stakes felt pretty high. That like, considering I believe they were going past what the book was capable of, that or the book's like, I guess, storyline, that they technically anything was up in the air now, because at least like like kind of like similar to Walking Dead, you can kind of have some material to refer off of, or kind of have a reference point as to where things might go, and kind of have some type of comfort in speculation. But at least with Game of Thrones, at least in this season, that it could go anywhere really. They could deviate totally off everything, and go the opposite way or something like that. But yeah, so yeah, that was episode 3. It wasn't as, I guess it wasn't, I didn't, it's hard to explain. I didn't come from it as, I guess, heartbroken as I was expecting to be, which I guess is kind of good and bad. I don't know. I guess is how you perceive it, but for me, I don't know. I was expecting the worst, so when I didn't necessarily get the absolute worst, technically, I don't know. I was like, I felt kind of slightly empty, but it was like on the other side, I was like, oh yeah, cool. Like all the really good characters are still in it that I really necessarily cared about. Yeah, don't get me wrong. It was sad to see the characters that went, but yeah, it doesn't make me more interested in terms of the next episode, at least from what they hinted at. The next episode is that it seems like it's just going to be the final showdown between Cersei and Dany, in terms of just ruling or fighting for the throne. So it's man, it was a good episode though, either way. A lot of dynamics and fun stuff that did go into it. But yeah, man, that was greatness. That was just pure, unadulterated greatness. This whole damn week, man, you had Mortal Kombat 11. You had Days Gone. You had Avengers. Well, wait a minute. You had Cobra Kai season 2. You had Avengers Endgame. Then you had Game of Thrones. This week was crazy, man. It's probably one of the most craziest weeks I've ever kind of experienced to memory. Like in terms of consistently, just immense stuff, to me at least, was dropping. Media wise in general, like games, TV, movies. It was just a crazy week. It was fun though. There's just so many emotions I felt this week all at once. I wasn't sure how I felt about myself after. I just felt like just this husk of emptiness of all this emotion that I felt and left my body. But good God, man. Well, guys, I think that is man, this was a pretty beefy episode. I think I'm kind of making up for last week, which I was trying to figure out some podcast related stuff to try to get this podcast going up the ground in terms of getting on the popular services that you guys are accustomed to, or when you guys will eventually hear this, either way. But man, crazy week, but definitely glad at least was able to talk to you guys about it, because man, the tea. Okay. But yeah, other than that, guys, what have I been playing outside of that? Yeah, pretty much, yeah, Mortal Kombat 11 Days Gone. Nothing really out of that, out of the ordinary that I have been playing lately that I wanted to mention. So that's pretty much been that. But outside of that, of course, guys, you can find me on Twitch TV /ASwitch. You can also find me on youtube.com/ASwitch. I am trying to get back to getting on a schedule in terms of everything, to get a great, I guess, not expect, trying to use words that don't exist, a great form of regularity, I guess is probably the best way to describe it. What else? Also on Patreon, if you want to support me there, I'm eventually gonna try to get some good exclusive or timed exclusive stuff out there first at some point. Just a matter of figuring all that out. Since I'm a one man army in that respect. But yeah, also find me on Twitter at a switch as well. Yeah, man, that's pretty much what I've been up to. But yeah, guys, until next time, man, it's been a crazy week. Yes. Until next time, guys. Oh, yeah.